All right, guys, welcome to the first episode of this podcast. This is going to be the Montauk Weekly Fishing Report. I'm here with mate Mike of the Montauk Lazy Bones, and we're going to talk and start it off with how the local boats have been doing fishing around the lighthouse and wherever they've been, what size fish, what's the activity, and then we're going to end it with the weather for the week and the high tides and low tides. How's the fishing been in the past week? And yeah, how's it been? How have boats around you done? How's the fluking and striped bass? Like just how's it been in general?
In general, the start of the season has been pretty good. In the last week, we've done a lot of striped bass fishing and a few fluke trips, but the majority of what we've been doing is striped bass, and it's been good. It's been active. The migration is still going on, so all these fish are moving north still. So the fish are in one spot one day, and they're not in the same spot the next day. But there's a lot of boats around. The weather has been good, and so far, I would say both bass fishing and fluke fishing are looking promising.
And how has the lazy bones done? Like fluke fishing, like what was the biggest one you caught last week?
Last week, the biggest fluke we caught was 8 3/4 pounds, which is a pretty good one. That's the biggest one we've had this season. And earlier that week, we caught like a 7 1/4, 7.5, something like that. So two pretty nice size fluke we caught last week.
Yeah, because I remember when we went out on our boat, the striped bass fishing was amazing. Like it was really picking up, and the slot size is really in that the schoolies are the slot size. So like every drift, once one of us hooked up, the rest of us hooked up. So the striped bass fishing has been really good. We didn't try fluking, but it seems like it's starting to pick up really in great numbers. Like I saw Mike post on the Lazy Bones page, I saw the 7 1/4 pound fluke, and now hearing about the 8 3/4 fluke. So fluking seems to be picking up majorly.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely picking up. And surprisingly enough, normally this time of year, we're catching the fluke in the ocean, but both of those fish were caught in the bay.
Mhm.
So that's bizarre, but it's what it is.
Yeah. And what time of day and like what were the conditions when both those fluke were caught?
Well, the 7 1/4 pounder was caught like Monday morning of Memorial Day weekend, and it was like a little cool and it was foggy, and it was right at the end of the trip. And ironically enough, same thing this past Thursday morning. The fish was caught right at the end of the trip, so it would be like around 11 o'clock because it was a
Mhm.
morning trip. And this older guy was fishing with a very old rod and a very old reel and very old line,
Mhm.
and he hooked the fish, and it fought very well. And he actually got tired that he gave it to his buddy to reel it in,
Mhm.
and then we got it in the boat, and that was a good one.
Great to hear. And have you seen any like over slot size stripers or like 30 to 40 range?
We've seen a lot of overs. We've seen more over slot size than we have under or slot sized fish. I would say that the biggest fish that we've caught this year was probably about 46 inches.
Mhm.
And the majority of the fish we catch, I would say, are around 36 inches.
So straight bass fishing is definitely picking up because last time we went out Memorial Day weekend, and were those fish schoolies?
I just wanted to say that I saw you guys buzzing around out there in the fog on
Mhm.
Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was in the beginning, like a week ago, a little over a week ago, there was more small fish around than there are now.
Yeah. So stripers are definitely coming in bigger slots or way over slot, like 5 to 6 inches. Like how much are they starting to weigh? Like 30, like mid 30s, low 30s.
Like
Wait.
weight wise, I would say that a slot size striped bass is like 10 to 13 pounds,
Hmm.
where an over slot would be like 13 to whatever it could be.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Where an overslot would be like 13 to whatever it could be. 13 to 13 pounds, where an overslot would be like 13 to whatever it could be. 13 to whatever it could be. 13 to whatever it could be.
So fishing's really picking up and becoming really good off Montauk Point where we saw you guys and we saw you guys fishing. Were you guys more to the south side of the lighthouse or the north side?
Uh, we would start fishing on the south side of the lighthouse as a spot known as the Elbow
Mhm.
when we're fishing for bass, and we will drift to the north onto the north side, which is the bay, Long Island Sound, Block Island Sound, where we would be more like into the fluke fishing. But
So diamond jigs have been working really well, right?
yeah, that's all we do on the Lazy Bones. We just diamond jig for bass, where we fish the bottom for fluke.
Thank you, Mike, for coming on the podcast for this weekly fishing report. And hope you guys see you in the next one.
Yeah, no problem.
The
We'll see you out
forecast
there
and the
soon.
conditions for the week will be as followed. Tonight on Monday night, it will be cloudy skies. Seas will be hovering around 2 feet with winds from 6 to 11.5 miles per hour. High tide at 4:40 a.m., low tide at 10:18 a.m., high tide again at 5:10 p.m. On Tuesday, there will be a low of 57 and a high around 65. Seas will also be around 2 feet with winds from 6 to 11.5 miles per hour. Low tide at 12:32 a.m., high tide at 5:38 a.m., low tide again at 11:07 a.m., and high tide at 6:03 p.m. Wednesday will also be cloudy with a high at 67 and a low at 62. Winds will be the same as yesterday from 6 to 11 miles per hour, while the seas will be around 2 feet for the day. In the night, there will be chances of showers and thunderstorms and visibility from 1 to 3 nautical miles. Low tide at 12:22 a.m., high tide at 6:32 a.m., low tide at 11:55 a.m., and high tide at 6:55 p.m. Thursday's low at 62 and high at 70 with partly cloudy skies, having seas 2 to 4 feet and occasionally 5 feet, with winds from 6 to 11.5 miles per hour. Showers are likely with a chance of thunderstorms. Visibility 1 to 3 nautical miles. Low tide at 1:10 a.m., high tide at 7:32 a.m., low tide at 12:41 p.m., and high tide at 8:44 p.m. Friday will have a low of 61 and a high of 69. Winds will be blowing from 6 to 11.5 miles per hour, and seas around 4 feet and occasionally 5 feet. Winds and seas may be higher in areas near thunderstorms. Low tide at 1:56 a.m., high tide at 8:12 a.m., low tide at 1:26 p.m., high tide at 9:31 p.m. This is what the Lazy Bones caught last week: an 8.5 pounder, a bunch of striped bass, 7 1/4 that Mike was talking about, another striped bass, and another striped bass. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you tune into the next one.